His bravery was the only thing standing between us and destruction. Thank you, strange little pointy thing.
I'm a beaver.
You're kidding. He is kidding, right?
Afraid not, Dr. Gigglies. We're U.S. Grade A all-beef beavers.
If you'd like to commission a Knacks Sample Platter, instructions in the description below. Sometimes you just gotta make one for yourself, you know? I get that. There are projects that I'd love to do, some old projects I want to continue, but I feel hesitant to approach them as they aren't exactly what my audience wants. Most of you are here for the Nickelodeon stuff, and the numbers reflect that. But that just builds up the desire to break away from the formula even more. And that's just doing YouTube, a relatively low-stakes medium. Imagine the pressures to stay in your lane when you're working on a fully funded animated series for cable television. The Day the World Got Really Screwed Up is the 10th episode of Angry Beaver's second season, the 23rd episode overall, and the only full-length half-hour story the show ever produced. Originally airing as a Halloween special on October 26, 1998, the episode was directed by Patty Shinagawa, who's one of those done-a-bit-of-everything talents, doing animation work on The Simpsons, King of the Hill, Family Guy, Futurama, SpongeBob SquarePants, and The Loud House. It was written by show creator Mitch Schauer, and he considers it among his favorite episodes of the show.
Well, my very favorite's the Halloween special, The Day the World Got Really Screwed Up, because that combined the Beavers with my love of old horror films, old science fiction movies. So we really enjoyed that.
The Day the World Got Really Screwed Up is a pastiche of 50s sci-fi horror B-movie images and tropes that Schauer loved. It's the day before Halloween, and Norbert and Daggett are trick-or-treating, under the incorrect assumption that they would get first dibs on the candy. Norbert is dressed like their favorite B-movie actor, Oxnard Montalvo, and Daggett is dressed like the titular crawling spleen. So you can imagine their surprise when they stumble onto the actor's house at the end of the lane.
Oxnard Montalvo! Do you know what this means?
We know how to read addresses?
It means you might get your candy and bom bom bom. Dad, the autograph of our favorite B-movie actor, Oxnard Montalvo.
Yeah, baby! Sing! Wee!
Unbeknownst to the two Beavers, however, is that a comet carrying an alien intelligence has landed in Montalvo's backyard, and has taken possession of Montalvo's manservant, named, Manservant. Through the power of the Beaver's imagination, the alien mind is able to bring the movie monster statues Montalvo keeps in his house to life. As they wreak havoc, the Beavers find themselves teaming up with Montalvo, who is an actor, but also the exact kind of square-jawed B-movie hero he portrays in the movies.
I'm speaking the only language a monster understands, Doc. Fist talk.
Joining them is Dr. Kautiki, who fancies himself a scientist despite really not being a scientist. And Toluca Lake, the screaming damsel in distress with ankles made of glass.
Oh! My ankle!
You okay?
I'll be all right.
There's the crawling spleen!
Let's go. Oh! My other ankle!
There you go.
Jeez Louise.
What follows is chaos. For a half hour, we see characters bounce around with their nonsense, nobody fully understanding what's going on. Even the narrator, voiced by the one and only Peter Graves, gets confused and starts complaining over the credits that none of this made any sense.
I mean, for instance, if the alien could bring the monster statues to life through that manservant guy, why did it need the Beavers? I mean, Beavers can't even talk and be... No, forget that. I'm feeling too crawly inside. I'm too sick to think about this story anymore. It's a story so inane and convoluted that even I, the narrator, couldn't make any sense out of it.
The Day the World Got Really Screwed Up feels like... I was going to say a first draft, but it's not even that. It's the scrambled notes of an initial brainstorming session where Schauer's nerding out in front of everyone else in the studio. Okay. So the title is a spoof on the day the Earth stood still, and there's a comet with an alien in it, like the Blob, and people are taken over like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and there'll be a flying Rodan monster, and it'll fight Air Force stock footage, and Manservant will wear a giant head that looks like a mix between Nosferatu and the robot from the Phantom Creeps, and we'll get Peter Graves. He did Beginning of the End and Killers from Space. B-movie legend, that guy. Hold on, Channel 7 is playing them. Who wants to watch some giant ant action with me? On top of all that, Angry Beavers is one of the most improvised animated shows ever made.
Richard and Nick were really great at improv. And I had the script, I directed the recording, so I would sit there with the script, and they'd start with the script, and then all of a sudden they'd drift off into something that was just hysterical. And I told them, I said, I want you to do that. I don't care how you do it, just as long as you get back to the script. So these guys would ad-lib, and if they made a mistake, and everybody just had a great time in the recording booth. And that's what I wanted, because if it's fun in the booth, then it's fun on screen.
That's it. Forget this thing.
But what about the candy? You need a costume to get candy.
You also need a trick-or-treat bag, Mr. Spleener Wienerhead.
That's right.
That's right.
Where's my candy bag? And where's the candy?
Did you say Gunda?
Candy.
The Day the World Got Really Screwed Up is not well written in the professional, industrial sense. In all of this, there's really only two solid jokes. One where Montalvo breaks out a large sci-fi device, and you wonder, oh, what's that gonna do? How is Montalvo gonna use it to save the day? And then he just starts clubbing monsters with it. The other solid joke is Toluca Lake's ankles, poking fun at the helpless woman trope common in these kind of films.
Oh! Both my ankles!
Why don't we just cut the darn things off? Can we go now?
Those are the jokes that made me laugh when watching this now. But I did have a big grin on my face through the entire thing. The same kind of grin you get when your partner or best friend is just geeking out about something they're passionate about. And even if you're not personally invested in that topic, their enthusiasm is infectious. But that's me as an adult and fellow creator and movie nerd. I'm not sure all that translates into a great episode of children's television. Many kids would enjoy the absurdity of it, sure, but very few would be in on the joke. It's similar to the issue of children's shows parodying movies that most 10-year-olds haven't seen. You run the risk of leaving them out in the cold. It's better here. The references aren't specific to any one movie, but is instead parodying a certain genre aesthetic. But you're still rolling the dice on if any given kid is going to be working on your wavelength. But again, sometimes you just gotta make one for yourself. The Day the World Got Really Screwed Up almost got a sequel that would have seen the United States B-movie tropes swapped out for more British B-movie tropes.
We recorded another half-hour special that was an homage to the British company Hammer Films. We did it, and it was based on Dracula. And we had Terrence Stamp play Dracula. He was hilarious. And we had Sheena Easton playing the Gypsy, and Michael York was playing Van Helsing. And I really wanted to make that show because it was just hilarious, involving Daga with vampires and all that. And then they talked about making it into a movie, and then that didn't happen, so the show was never made.
Since Angry Beavers, Mitch Schauer has kept his passions alive in other ways. He did cover art for the magazine Famous Monsters of Filmland, and in 2010 he wrote a graphic novel called Rip MD, which sees an 11-year-old B-movie fan becoming a problem solver for actual monsters. Mitch Schauer is an absolute dork, and I find that very appealing. But okay, this episode was dorky up to your eyeballs, but how else did Schauer's interests affect the tone and humor of the rest of the series, the rest of Angry Beavers? Well, that's a discussion for another day. This was just a sample.
How do your ankles feel now?
Well, they're broken, but they're better.